Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to have a look at a watch which is close to my heart, at least in terms of brand, because one of my first watches was an Eterna, and growing up in Oslo I went to the KonTiki museum, which is watch is named after, which is of course the expedition Tour Heyerdahl had in 1948 over the Pacific Ocean to prove a point that the locals could travel around on rafts, and apparently he knew the managing director of Eterna, and he got a good deal on getting Eterna watches, which had some screwed down case backs and water resistance, so they used them on the expedition. Nobody quite knows what models were used. It's a bit of a mystery. They weren't very good at marketing it at the time, but a few years later they realized, that's pretty cool, let's put a raft, and just to show that, if you're going to travel around on the ocean on a little raft, an Eterna KonTiki is what you need. So we have the lovely little raft engraving on the back. Actually, I have a client watch here, which is the first generation. I believe this is 1958, and this will be 1959, and that has just a engraving, which is very nice. This one's one that's going to come up for a service in a couple of days, but for now I really want to get this one going because this is mine, this is a client's, so there you go. Anyway, this one has failed its waterproof test in the field, obviously, and I think there's a bit of rust in here because the crown is not really, it's a little bit of movement, not much. Case, really nice and sharp, never been polished, that's for sure. And with this patina, I'm not going to touch this case, we're going to leave it as it is. We have the Eterna KonTiki bracelet, and we even have a date number here, the 4th, 1959. So yeah, that puts kind of a date on when this watch, I reckon this is about 1960, 61. They probably made the bracelet, well, a year earlier, popped it on here or whatever. It's that's cool. It's a complete watch with the complete bracelet. The important thing is, what can we do with it? It's not running currently, and it's not very happy. I'm going to get my opening ball and see if we can open this easily. Opening ball. Oh, yeah, that's been opened before, so that's not too bad. Good for me. Let's see what kind of fun is within. Nice medallion on this. Sometimes these are completely worn out. Okay, not too bad. First look, we have the notorious rotor wear, which you usually find in these. No, that's nice and tight. Good. We have a bit of rust down here, a bit of rust down here. Hopefully the dial screws haven't rusted in. We can loosen that dial off here without doing any damage. That's my biggest concern. Another thing, I think I'm going to remove this strap now, just so that this doesn't plonk around as I'm working on it. Haha, movie magic, just came off by itself. We're going to put this to be cleaned. I wouldn't know if this has been refinished before or not. I don't think it has, but in any case, it will look like it has a highly glossed finish on the outer links and brushed in the center. If anybody knows if that's correct, if you have any all stock one, please comment, let me know. Apparently commenting and sharing videos is a very good way for my channel to grow. Not that you have to. I think it's always stupid to say share, like and comment, but obviously people do it and it works, so yeah, feel free to if you want to. Anyway, let's have a look at this. The stem does not go out. This is a caliber 1424, I believe. So the challenge we have. Hopefully, let's start by wiggling on case screws. Yes, the first one loosened. Not so rusty. We might even be able to clean this one up. Good stuff. A little bit of brown on the threads, but we're going to see what we can do with that. Clamp comes out. There we go. And let's move the oscillating weight around. Now we're going to have a go at the other rusty screw. Look at that, baby. Yes, That's moving freely. Fantastic. That's what we want now. Sorry. Oh, will the clamp come out? Come on, clampy, clampy. There we go. Look at that. Click. Yeah, well, we'll lift that off later. That will come out. We, of course, have one more grand challenge, and that is the setting lever screw itself. Now, this one. Oh, no. Oh, no. It's not going anywhere. Bad boo-boo. So, try again. Did that move a little bit? I'm setting levers. Ooh, no. Right. Not good. What am I going to do? Well, I'm going to take apart the parts of the movement from the top to see if I can get closer to the setting and winding mechanism and fill it with oil. Maybe that will help. So yeah. So let's go from the top. That's tight too. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that was a tight oscillating weight screw, but it did come off in mint condition. It's welcomed. Loosen the oscillating weight. Yep. Let's take the screw for the reverser wheels. It's got this little bridge securing those two reverser wheels here. You might recall this movement looks very, very much like an ETA, and that was because Eterna and ETA, well, at first Eterna was developed by, no, ETA was developed by Eterna to produce movements for other watches. And they've worked closely together ever since. Not in the same group anymore, but once upon a time they were. Right, so let's see, we're going to lift the oscillating weight bridge off. Couple of wheels under here that you actually release by swinging this lever. The good thing is that it looks like most of the movement has not been affected by the moisture that's gotten in here. I'm going to remove the balance just to keep that safe. That's out of the way. Come on. Tight pillars, there we go. Good stuff. Lifting that carefully out of position. Put this to the side. Now, I want to make sure, oh, the crown's moving a bit, so that's good. Just want to make sure that we are winding the movement down. Do that manually. You can do that by lifting the click. You also have to remove the automatic winding mechanism. This crown's very tight in here, so obviously we could do with a little bit of okay. I think that's wound down a bit. I'm actually going to remove the pallet fork as well in case there's a little bit more wind in there. I'd rather avoid any damage. That loosen, you had a little snap just to make it interesting. There we go. And such a lovely finish on these movements, really nicely made. Look at that, nice and shiny. I remember this is 1960, folks. That's amazing. All right, pallet out. This doesn't look like the gear train. That looks like we have the power is out. That's good. Now we're going to take the ratchet wheel off. Well, it's not the ratchet wheel in this case because the crown wheel has the ratchet engaging to it, but we'll still call it the ratchet wheel. Nice screw on that. Do not mix that up with the oscillating weight screw, then you'll have big problems. There we go. And so we're just gonna lift this up. Good tip is when something sits in like this, use a bit of Rodico to lift it up, and that way you don't scratch anything. Good. Now we are going to take the barrel bridge off, and the idea by removing the barrel bridge is that we can now see the top part of the sliding and oh, come on. I think point in there. Oh boy, that's really tight. Oh, there we go. Oh, I'll get a bigger screwdriver. That was tight. I bet there's a little bit of rust in there. And you can't just soak all of this with oil because that would completely kill the dial. I don't really want to do that. I do like the patina on there, and I'm kind of hoping I can do something with it. There we go. Tiny bit of brown on some of these screws. So give that a good clean later on, or I might even replace them because I do have some parts for this. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, that's tight on there. Let's find a little groove where we can lift this up. Here we go. Very tight. Very, very tight. Come on. This is my least favorite part of watchmaking, is when you have tights. The parts are very tight on there. There we go. Now we can see we've got a little bit of access to the back side here. Nope. There we have the barrel, which is good. It's not completely rusty under here. You can see that. It's a good sign. Does that say do not open? And we all know what do not open means. No oiling. I thought it said do not open. See, I didn't even look close. No oiling. Well, I disagree. We will oil that when we get closer to that part. But at the moment, this is our problem. Okay, we have put oil in between here and here. Hopefully, I'm just going to let that sit a while, and that will hopefully make its way into the rusty part and help it dissolve. I've also put a drop of oil down here and here where the dial fits are, because I suspect they will be rusty as well. La 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 la. I think the best thing we can do is hit it with a hammer. Okay, let's do that. So the most rusty part is actually this sliding pinion rusted onto the winding pinion. So I've put the screwdriver blade here. You can't really see, but we're going to have a go at knocking that. Sorry, you can't really tell. it's on there pretty good. You know what? It worked. I managed to loosen the setting lever screw here as well. You can see that's a little bit damaged, but you know, that's how much force it needed to go, but it loosened. I pressed it down and the stem comes out. How about that? Yes! Fantastic. Completely finito. I'm not even going to try, well, I'm going to replace that. I'm not even going to try and salvage this. Probably could if you were desperate, but no, I'd rather have strong new parts. Anyway, now we can get this movement out of the case for the first time in who knows how long. Next challenge, of course, is, oh no. Ha ha ha. Hoo, hoo, hoo. Okay. Well, let's get the hands off first and then we'll look at that. Okay, hands off. Put these to the side. Okay, we have a slight problem. These dial screws are not going anywhere. It's breaking my screwdriver blades in trying to, and on the other side it's just grinding into nothing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to line, luckily, fortunately, it gives us a chance here, the movement is overlying by the dial, and I'm going to secure the movement other way around. So the edge of the movement is resting on the movement holder here. And then I'm going to try and punch these feet through because I can always salvage them later. I don't want to start soldering new dial feet on a dial this sensitive, but can't get the dial off in one piece, or if that bends or deforms, we have a bit of doo-doo, a bit of trouble. There's no chance we're getting those screws off, so what we'll have to do is bunk the whole movement in. Later on, we'll bunk the whole movement in into a batch of alum and dissolve those two screws, but and try and get this dial off somewhat one piece, because I do kind of like the look of the dial. It is very, very tatty. We might actually have to give up on that, have it restored. We'll have to see what we can get out of it. It's hammer time again. Let's put the punch in there and see what happens. Make sure this is resting on the movement, not the dial, because that would work against our interests here. Shucks. It's kind of sliding around. Okie dokie, well, I've cleaned that up as good as I can, and I've kind of touched up a bit with black paint, matte black paint. I'm going to be honest with that, but you saw how flaky that is. You touch it, you look at it, you breathe at it, that flakes off, the varnish comes off with the paint underneath, leaving just, yeah, well, the dial finish on the other side. You see there's a couple of flecks there still, but they're so small, and you touch it and it peels off next to it. So what I'm trying to do is varnish this and hopefully stabilize the dial so it could last another 50 or so years. Okay, I've sprayed the dial with varnish. That's still drying, so it's going to have a little bit more of a matte finish than what it has now. But it's not the best lighting. It actually looks pretty good in person here, but considering what that was like, I think we're going to save this. And the important thing is we really got that Eterna and KonTiki and Swiss lettering saved, and it's looking pretty good. Next step on this dial will be to fill in some new age luminous compound. Age, as I'm going to give it a little bit of a color that makes it look older. I'm probably going to go for a kind of a orangey brown look to that, and I think that will pop really nicely on this dial. But yeah, I'm going to continue with this project because I think it's going to turn into quite a nice watch when we're done with it. Now we have the dial sorted. I'm pretty happy to continue on this movement. We have the not too many parts to take apart here. We have the date with the quick set lever. We can have a little inspection and see how much is usable and what has rusted up. So the good news is we've got plenty of good screws and bits and bobs here to preserve the original movement, and I do have quite a bit of spares for this, so I'm not too worried. Here you can see the little quick set pawl that comes in like this. It has a little spring. It can be a bit tricky, but you have a spring here that keeps that down. Also keeps the this in place here. It's all good. Date changing wheel, intermediate hour wheel. This just lies in place. Can be a bit tricky to fit. Not bad. The hour wheel setting lever spring is complete and in good shape. The setting lever, however, is pretty rusty. We're probably going to replace it, as I have some of these in spare. Okay, well, I'm going to take this apart in time lapse. It won't be much, but just to save a little bit of time on this video. Right, base movement taken apart. You can see there's all this rust and stuff on the movement, which is transferred from rusty screws, etc. I'm going to give that a blast in the ultrasonic, and I've removed pretty much any metal part on here. And when I'm done with that, I'm going to cover it all with Rodico except for where the dial screws go. And we're going to dip the whole movement into this jar here, which this box here, which we have alum. So aluminium oxide powder that's going to mix with water. I'm going to put that on the radiator, and that's going to dissolve the rusty screws. But before I'm going to do that, I'm going to try and clean up the base movement to my best of my abilities. I'm going to cover up to prevent any discoloration that you might get, and we'll dissolve those lumps of rust in there. This is 2 days later, and we're going to check what the usually don't have that. It's had a reaction to the Rodico. Oh well. I've left a couple of holes on each side to allow the liquid to go into the dial screw holes and hopefully dissolve those dial screws. just a little selection of new parts going into this movement. You can see the old ones here being pretty beaten up and dirty, and because I have these ones at hand, I'm going to replace them. These case clamps could have been used, could have tidied them up a bit more, and they would have been usable, solid enough, but as I have a good selection of new old stock ones, I thought I might as well go with that. Same goes for some of the other parts. Sliding pinion, winding pinion are toast, wouldn't be able to use them anyway, but some of the other bits will be alright. Here we have the base movement all cleaned up. I've removed the balance cock with the balance, and ready to put the base movement back together. We can start by putting in the second wheel. I give that a droplet of oil in the jewel and the hole for the barrel. So just a little droplet in here and here. I have, before I started filming this, I have fitted fitting the setting lever from the top here, so I have to do that before fitting the gear train, but I've already done that, and you can see this is the quick set lever on the underside. Also a replacement part because the old one was fairly rusty, and yeah, I had one available, so we're going to use the best we can. We've got the barrel coming in. Now we can fit the barrel bridge. Again, I'm going to put a little bit of, I'll put it on this side now. I do apologise, lighting isn't that great now, it's all dark outside, and my desk lamp is down in where I polish cases, so I don't have it here right now. I should bring that in an eventual next video. Anyway, we can fit the barrel bridge. I've also fitted the ratchet wheel. It's been off. I've put a little bit of lubrication underneath there. Some of these screws I've also replaced for ones in better condition, just because I can from another movement. Now we can fit the gear train. The escape wheel comes in here. And we have the third wheel comes in here. And then we have a center wheel. This will be the fourth wheel. I'm going to come through this this post in the center here. See, there's a little bit of discoloration on the wheel itself, but that's not going to be any problem, as it's just discoloration in the plating and nothing else. We're not going to start replating the wheels here. Put a little droplet of 9010 there. That's your base gear train in. And next thing we want to do, we're going to fit the gear train bridge. I'm going to look under the microscope, make sure that all the pivots line up. They do line up quite nicely, so that's good. You can see there's a bit of battle scars on the plating from of the water that's come in. The original base plate with the correct serial number for this watch. Even though I don't believe there's any records to put them together, I know this is the original movement in this watch, and therefore it shall continue to be so, and we're going to make sure it performs as good as it can. Now I'm going to lubricate the gear train. I'm going to put a little bit of drop of oil in here, here, and here. I'll do that under the microscope. Now we've oil lubricated the gear train, we can put together the setting and winding mechanism. And this one has a quick set date lever here, which works a bit on a pulley. This is slightly different design, but I believe it's going to work just the same, because it's the same layout and little lever that it pushes. We'll get back to that in a second. First we're going to fit the winding pinion and sliding pinion. We have our nice new parts. Gonna pop in there. Put a little bit of grease on the sliding surface of the actual winding pinion. On the sliding pinion, I'm going to put a little bit of grease on the surface that engages with the yoke. On the stem, we're going to put lots of grease on the sliding surface. We are using the old stem. That's might be a bit surprising, but it's survived pretty well after being cleaned up, and structurally is very sound. There's no grinding surfaces on this, so I think it will be fine. So I'm going to use that, insert that here. Just going to loosen the setting lever screw and secure that stem. Remember how tight, how rusted it was before together? See how nicely this moves? There's no problem with this, so that's great. And a little bit of grease will also prevent future rust issues should they reoccur. A little bit of grease here. Onto the yoke. We can fit the intermediate winding wheel. The intermediate winding wheel is beveled, so you want to make sure that the beveled section faces downwards and will engage with the sliding pinion, like so. Next we're going to fit the yoke spring itself. It comes in here. Like so. This will all be secured with the setting lever screw. Fortunate, the not setting lever screw, but the setting lever spring is in good condition and not rusty. Say can be a little bit tricky to get a hold of. I'm very happy about that. We're going to give that a little bit of good dollop of lubrication. And we're going to securing that, we have a special screw that also has a step in it that also secures the date positioning lever. Again, nice that the corrosion has not crept further than it had, and a lot of these parts are in good condition. It would have been a shame if we'd have to replace everything. date tension lever that comes here. There'll be a little spring. We'll get back to that in a sec when we fit the date wheel. Now we can fit the clutch wheel. Another good idea is to put a droplet of oil on the post here, hollow post. You can see the second pinion sticking through. Got some here. Now we can fit the intermediate hour wheel. Give that a droplet of oil, and we'll give the date wheel a droplet of oil. So fit the date wheel. And oh, we're out of focus, sorry guys. Now for fitting the date corrector lever. It has two little posts on the underside. One post goes in here and comes down like so. And that hopefully that post on the bottom will catch this arm. When you're quick setting it, this will push the lever. We'll demonstrate that later. And quick forward the date. We can now fit, well, we have to fit the date wheel. Lovely date wheel on this with the gloss black and silver markers. So we have to tension back the spring and the positioning lever, the date positioning lever, like so. And now for the slightly tricky part. I always find it tricky. It shouldn't be that tricky. But we have this covering plate, the dual spring grease on the contacting points of the spring, just because. And then we're going to position this in correctly. The quick set does work. We pull the stem outwards like so, and you can see that lever moving and engaging with the date wheel. So we have the post on the underside of the lever that engages with the fork that's connected to the setting lever. So each time that fork comes in, grabs onto the post on the underside of the quick set lever, the little finger, and pushes it forwards. And then we have the date corrector here, which, well, this helps it find the correct position for each time you advance. I'm happy with that. Good. Let's turn this around and continue by fitting we've got to fit the ratchet wheel. Even though the ratchets, it's not on the ratchet wheel, you get the point. And we got to fit the pallet and balance and see if it will run. Let's turn it around. Let's fit the ratchet wheel. There it is. Very nice condition. We can secure the
ratchet wheel. There we go, nice and secured. You can see that the gear train moves freely, which is good. If it didn't do that, we'd have a problem. It's not moving freely. We need to investigate why. Right, so what had happened is that the clutch wheel, this is the old one, was wonky. Somebody has been trying to tighten this before, I didn't notice it, and as it was turning around, one of the spokes had been bent and it was wonky. Now it is not anymore because I had one from Eterna movement. So we fixed everything back to how it should be. We got good friction in there, and happy with that. We got a free moving gear train. This is how it should look. Not like what it was before, even with a little bit of a backlash. Fantastic. So now we know we have a free moving gear train. We can fit the pallet fork, the pallet bridge, and then the balance. Lovely, lovely pallet fork on this, nicely finished. Secure that under the microscope, make sure all the pivots are lined up, the top and bottom pivot of the pallet. This video is getting a little long-winded. I haven't included all the oiling features, etc. But if you look at the last service video I have, I do believe I have some close-ups on oiling the pallet fork. So if you're interested in looking at how you oil the pallet fork, check it out. Now we're lining up the impulse pin with the little fork on the pallet, and if we've done that correctly, it will start ticking. Amazing! That's pretty cool. This watch was not very happy when we started, and now it's running. Will it be running properly? We'll find out in a moment on the timer graph. I'm just going to take a moment to enjoy the fact that that balance seems to be moving at a very healthy rate. Very happy about that. Pretty cool. You got the spiral decoration here. Going this way, you got another finish on top of the bridges. You have the pelage inside the regulator, infeld regulator here. Pelage underneath here. Nice finish on these Eterna-matics. Second take, I have set this to run about 5 seconds slow on dial down position. I do have some positional variation from dial down and dial up, so if I turn this around to dial up, we have a little bit more of a beat error, but it will gain about 5 seconds a day. Let that settle. So dial up position, very good amplitude, both positions, no problems with that. So dial up, it will go about +8 seconds a day, dial down -7, so that will equalize quite nicely. Nice thing is that if you put it on the side, crown towards the right, crown towards the east, you can see it doesn't have much positional variation sideways. We do the crown down, so crown facing south. Again, a little bit of beat error differential, but not much positional variation. We do the crown towards the left, towards the west, and we have, again, not too much positional variation. Turn it all the way around, crown north, So the crown facing upwards, again very little variation. So the poising on this watch is pretty good. There's a little bit of variation going dial up, dial down, but all in all, I think this watch is easily going to keep within 10 seconds a day being worn, which is fantastic considering what condition it was in when we started. Here we have the underside of the automatic winding mechanism. There you got these two posts. We have a little drop of oil on both of those posts, and we can fit the intermediate auto winder wheels come in here and here, and so nicely made. You have this little screw slot on a lever that holds both those wheels in place. Look at that, nice and straightforward. Now this is ready to go back onto the movement. Now that I'm very happy with the timekeeping of the watch, I'm going to fit the auto winder bridge. It comes up here. We have the two long auto winder screws that goes on here. Next we can fit the reverser wheels. Now these two reverser wheels are held in place by this little bracket. Like so. And that has a particular screw that holds it in place. Speed things up a bit, I'm going to put on time lapse fitting the dial and the hands. I'm of course going to line up the hands for the date change to change correctly, and I'm going to pop it into the case and hopefully finish off tonight. I think I'm very excited to get this watch running as it should, and I'm quite excited about this one. I think it's going to look good with that patina dial and a really nice unpolished case. So. There we go, a little bit of movie magic later. The movement's back in the case. If you notice one thing, I've fitted a different crown. The gasket in the old crown was completely shot. This is a slightly more modern Eterna crown. It's original crown, but probably for something from the 90s. But you know what, it's got good rubber in there. It doesn't look too bad on this watch, and I think that's a pretty good compromise, as I cannot get the exact original crown. But yeah, we have the movement back in, and it's a beautiful movement. Very happy with that. It's going to keep fantastic time. It's going to have somewhat water resistance. We got a big fat O-ring here, new one. We have a new gasket here. We have a new crystal. So let's pop the case back on. Have that really nice Kon Tiki raft on the medallion in the back. Really happy with that. We're going to pop this around. Look at that. The light is working against us here, so let's see if we can get a better angle. Slightly better angle. This looks a heck of a lot better in person than it does on the camera right now. I've got the pretty harsh workshop lighting. We can set the time, which is good. And we can quick set. The day of making this video is the 17th, so let's forward it to the 17th. Again,
Look guys, the lighting in here is pretty harsh. There's not much I can do about it. There we go, set. Yeah. Time now is, we are looking at 7:15. So yep, it's late. It's time for me to go home. I kind of stayed on a little bit extra for this one. I think it looks really good. Again, the light in here is pretty horrible. It just has the, yeah. Look, it's a great looking watch. I'm very happy with it. And I'm going to get it on the bracelet and test it on my wrist. But currently it's my watch. It might come up for sale. Not sure yet. This might go into the permanent collection. I love the patina on there. Can't really see it in this light, but it's got kind of a brown patina on it. Looks really good under the light. You can see it's got a bit uneven texture, and that's because that's all that varnish covering the incredibly uneven surface. Because when I was working on the style, pretty much all the old varnish was flaking up and bringing the paint with it. So the only way we could salvage that was by spraying it with the varnish, and it's turned out very nice. You may notice I've removed the old radium, as that was black, and that kind of didn't look that great on this style anymore. So we've replaced that with some luminous compound, which I've given a little bit of an age tint, and that also brings a bit more life into the style. Overall, very happy. So now I'm going to get it back on the bracelet and test it. Not too bad. I love this Marcus. I think this has come up really nice. I like how we've salvaged that dial with all those odds stacked against us. And I think it's come out really, really nice. I can't wait to see this in the daylight tomorrow. And I'll probably upload a little short while wearing it then as well. But so far, I'm extremely happy with this. This is the original Kon Tiki. Might be one of the Grail watches I've unfortunately didn't have money to buy in the past, and now they've gotten incredibly expensive. This is the second generation, but I do love these long, narrow markers. It's a really, really cool watch, and the shape of the case is fantastic. Of course, with this Kon Tiki bracelet, it's a nice bonus. Hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's a little bit of a messy one, but it was fun putting together, and it was fun to get this watch running again. Who knows when's the last time this was functioning properly. Until next time, have a good one.
Mindy, you ready to go? You ready to go? Oh, you ready? You ready? Oh, come here, come here, come here, come here. Let's get that on. You ready to go? You ready to go? Let's go, let's go, let's go. Yes, let's go, let's go, let's go. You're such a good boy. You're such a good boy, Indy. You're such a good boy. You're such a good boy. Are you ready to go? You ready to go? Oh, yeah, let's go. Oh, let's go. Let's go. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You ready to go? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.